In the first portion of Module 4, you will explore the tools and techniques of drawing and why artists still consider drawing as one of the most available means of visual communication. Drawing as a medium, materials, techniques, and processes, we'll look and talk about all of those things. We'll also look at various kinds of drawing and come to understand that there are different categories of drawing as well. Drawing is traditionally thought of as a predominantly two-dimensional art form, that is, marks that are made across the surface of paper, canvas, or a sketchbook. But as we look at examples of both traditional art and contemporary approaches and the uses of drawing, we'll see artists who intentionally experiment with art forms that push the boundaries of those traditional norms. We'll also consider architectural rendering, comics, and graphic novels. These are art forms in which drawing takes a predominant role. And at the end of this portion of Module 4, you will be able to identify and discuss drawing media and techniques in both historic and contemporary art. During the Italian Renaissance in the 14th and 15th centuries, artists like Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo explored new ideas for paintings and sculptures by preparing preliminary drawings. Paper became more available for artists by the late 14th century, which allowed Renaissance artists to produce preparatory drawings for themselves and for potential clients. Today, we have such a wide selection of paper to choose from that we might not be able to appreciate the impact that this availability had on the art of the Renaissance. So what we're really talking about here and introducing in this module is the idea that new technology or availability of materials is a part of the context and the culture of an era in time. Context in the sense of the humanities and for our purposes in how we will approach looking at the artworks from these various time periods. Context refers to the factors that surround a work of art or literature, but may not necessarily be stated explicitly. This background information informs our deeper understanding of the work in question and allows us to analyze rather than summarize what we are studying. Two different things. It is important to be aware of what the artist was experiencing in their time and reacting to or reacting against. Possible context-related questions that we might be asking are: what key historical, political, or religious events are happening at the time that this artwork was made? What scientific advances or discoveries are being made? What are the philosophical ideas of the time? And what are the other artistic influences on the work? For example, the context in which art is made and used are of foremost concern to the study of art history, and we're dipping our toes into that as an art appreciation class. So the art historian's goal is not to frame the artwork in terms of their own perceptions, but according to the worldviews of the original makers and audiences for art. Because art not only captures the aesthetics of an era, but it also plays a crucial role in shaping and reflecting cultural identity, societal norms, and the human experience. In 15th and 16th century Italy, the church experienced a rebirth of ancient Greco-Roman ideas, which many thought lay dormant during the Middle Ages. In the second half of this module, you'll explore the global and local factors and influences that inspired the Renaissance and the periods of art history immediately following it. Your journey begins in the banking city of Florence, which saw the first upsurge in Renaissance art and humanist ideals. You will then journey through the rest of Italy to see how the early Renaissance transitioned into the High Renaissance. Artists contributing to this new movement include Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, and Raphael. In Northern Europe, cultures also experienced a Renaissance, which was led by artists like Van Eyck. The Baroque and Rococo era immediately followed the Renaissance, and we will see the ways in which Renaissance ideals influenced the art of these periods. So at the end of this portion of Module 4, you will be able to explain the cultural and artistic developments of the Renaissance and the Baroque eras. You'll be able to identify and discuss the stylistic characteristics of Renaissance, Baroque, and Rococo art. You'll also be able to critically evaluate the artwork from these three time periods. So just a little note before we begin our adventure in Module 4, that there will be 4 episodes in this module, and they vary in length from 25 to 40 minutes per episode. I will offer questions for reflections or recommendations for resources where you can hear more about particular artists or an idea that are related to the topics of the previous episode. So I'll end with a suggestion of things to discuss or things to watch. It's important to know that these are optional questions for you to answer and may depend on the circumstances in which you're taking this class, right? But I am, as an artist myself, very interested in giving you the chance to hear as much as possible from the artists themselves, talking about their own work, why they do what they do, and even how they do what they do, right? There's nothing else quite like hearing that side of things, and that's very different than what you'll read in a textbook or what you'll hear from me, for example. So I think that all of these things are important for a well-rounded exposure to what we're doing. All of this is to say that it is optional, but I hope that you will spend some time with these videos. They tend to be about 15 minutes max in length. So fit them in when you can, be realistic about your schedule, and I hope that you enjoy them, okay? One final note is that the quiz will contain questions related to your textbook reading. So that's the chapter on drawing, as well as the chapter on Renaissance, Baroque, and Rococo art. The quiz will contain questions from those chapters as well as from this lecture, but the optional resources and videos will not be included on quiz questions, okay? Just so that you know. All right. With that, everybody, we'll go ahead and get started with episode 1 of Module 4.